What up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So, I have seen the first episode of season two of The Last of Us. I was really looking forward to this season two, but I was a little bit nervous at the same time for many reasons. Look, I'm a fan of the first Last of Us game, The Last of Us Part 1. I remember when it came out in 2013 on the PS3, playing the hell out of it. Love the story between Joel and Ellie, going on a quest to find the Fireflies, someone that was willing to create the vaccine because Ellie is the one person who has not been infected by the fungal virus, and she is the key to curing humanity and create the vaccine that could save everyone. And I love that they're on their quest to finding the Fireflies, and I love that storyline, the world building, everything. It was literally influenced from The Walking Dead, apparently, at the time when The Walking Dead was a big popular hit show on AMC, and it was definitely influenced by it. And Neil Druckmann, who was the creator of the game, he was part of the co-creator of the co-writer of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. And what he did was incredible. It was so emotional, dark, gritty, ballsy that they have ever done in any video gaming history, creating a great narrative storytelling between the two of them. And it was incredible performances by Troy Baker, who played Joel, Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie. It was an incredible, emotional, heart-wrenching storytelling. It was like basically an Oscar-worthy performance, to be honest with you. I played it through the PS3 era, the PS4 remastered, and then the remake that came out in 2022 of the game. And it was arguably the remake is the more superior version of that game. I remember when The Last of Us Part 2 was about to come out, I was really anticipating that game. And they had so many delays, and then we were facing the pandemic at the time in 2020, and they put that out, and I was really looking forward to it. And the way that they did that storyline of this whole revenge and the whole consequences of your actions when you take someone's life, the hero who takes the person's life, and there's major consequences when you make those choices, and it's going to come back to haunt you and bite you in the ass when you do. I like that idea. I really do. And the way that they've handled our characters was really ballsy. I appreciate them being ballsy of taking that approach and shocked everyone and took everyone by surprise. But I just didn't like the execution of it. And the Abby character, I'm sorry, I was never a fan of her character. And yes, I understand what you're thinking. Like you hate her character just because. Yes and no, but at the same time, I wanted to feel emphasis on the Abby character, but I felt nothing. I didn't feel anything of her character. I was so frustrated when I played her character in the game. There's been like too many stuff going on with A storyline, B storyline, and C storyline, especially when Ellie was supposed to be more of the focus of the story. But I get that they want to show two sides of the coin and showing her side of the story and Abby's side of the story. I get that. And to me, I thought it was just really emotionally manipulative, to be honest with you, when we get to the Abby story, and I just didn't feel any emphasis on the character. And I really want to connect it to the new characters, like the Jesse character, the love interest for Ellie, Dina. I just did not feel any of the emotional connection to the characters, and it just felt very out of place, and it left us in a worse place possible. But I get why Neil Druckmann wanted to do it. The things I really loved about the game was the mechanics and the gameplay were incredible. It was way more challenging than the first one. The performances were absolutely brilliant. The music score, chef's kiss. And look, I'm happy that they won Game of the Year and they sold so many copies. But make no mistake, The Last of Us Part 2 was the game that really divided the fans. Like it really did. Like make no mistake. But you know what? I accepted that's the direction they went, even though I didn't agree with it. I just think that it was just not as strong as The Last of Us Part 1, because Part 1 was peak, in my opinion. When I knew that they were going to do an adaptation to the HBO series, and make no mistake, for years they've been trying to do an adaptation as a movie. They wanted to create this as a movie, but there have been so many setbacks and so many delays. Then the HBO was able to pick that up, and Craig Mason, who was the showrunner, that I believe it won an Emmy Award for a limited series called Chernobyl, which I need to check that show out very soon. And you had Neil Druckmann coming in here being the co-showrunner with Craig Mason, collaborating together. And I thought that was an interesting approach. Season one of The Last of Us was really good. I really enjoyed that first season. It took me by surprise. I was a little nervous because most of the time when they try to adapt to in the video game from a popular IP, it doesn't always work and it doesn't execute well. But thank God you got Craig Mason in the hands of this material, and trying to make the best show possible. Yeah, they're going to stay faithful in spirit to the game. And even the music themes and some of the scenes that were done in the game brought over to the live action version, but still giving us a little bit of a different viewing experience to us as gamers who have played it before and not feeling like it's a copy and paste. And I thought the first season really stuck the landing. Bella Ramsey as Ellie to me was not my choice to play Ellie. I feel like they could have got someone better. But you know what? Bella Ramsey was coming off the heels of Game of Thrones, and I thought she did a great job playing the role of Ellie in the game in the show. And Pedro Pascal, another actor that I never thought that he would be the choice to play Joel, but he's been really a big popular big star in the world in Hollywood ever since he came up with the popularity of the Game of Thrones, and then he did Narcos, and he did now, and then he did Mandalorian, which that really put his name on the map. And they're basically put him in a lot of big popular IPs, apparently. And he's going to be in the upcoming Fantastic Four that's playing Reed Richards. And I thought he did a fantastic job playing Joel in the first season. And I really was really buying into the chemistry between him and Bella Ramsey. But now, going into season two, I was very nervous with this show because I already know where the story's going. I know where the direction is heading, but I'm really hoping for the best that they give us a little bit different from what we've seen in the game, but even though that they will stay faithful to the direction that they went with these characters, and we know the fate. And make no mistake that this is going to be a spoiler territory. If you have not watched The Last of Us season 2 episode 1, then get off of it right now, add this video to your favorites list, and come back later after you're done watching this episode, because this is going to be a heavy spoiler. And I'm going to spoil some of the things that happen in the game too, for those of you who have not played it yet. Be aware, you have been warned. So this is going to be spoilers, all right? Now, going into season 2, episode 1, we get an introduction of Abby's character, played by Caitlin Dever, which I never thought that they would cast Caitlin Dever, but she's an incredible actress. She's been in a lot of great roles, like Last Man Standing from that sitcom show with Tim Allen. Then she was in a Booksmart. And then she's been in a lot of good movies and even some of the Netflix special, which she's an incredible actress. And I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt that she will crush the role of Abby, and hopefully that they can actually give her a more established character depth than what they couldn't have done in the game, at least in my opinion. And this is just my opinion. You may disagree with me, or you may agree with me. It doesn't matter. That's just my opinion. But I thought that the introduction of Abby was a smart move that way, because what they did in the game, they just simply introduce her when we get into the 5-year time jump, and she's already on the mission, and we don't know what the fuck's going on. And I thought that this one, when we see the different angle of the few of the people who have lost their loved ones, who were the Fireflies that was killed by Joel himself. We're seeing their side of their story and how devastated they are that they lost their loved ones in the cause by Joel, especially with Abby's father, who is one of the doctors who are about to operate on Ellie. And she's angry, she's furious, and she's bloodthirsty and willing to get revenge, and she knows that it's Joel, and she's willing to do whatever it takes. And from her side, you probably want to root for her because she saw him as a monster from her side of the story. The thing about the main antagonist is that they think they're right and they think they're the hero of the story. The only question is, which character do you stand with? That's what Craig Mason mentioned in the podcast. But personally, I still root for Joel's character because I think Joel really did the right thing by saving Ellie, even if it means killing these soldier Firefly guards and even the doctors who are about to operate and kill Ellie in order to create the vaccine. I would have done the same thing if I was in his shoes. But that's the beauty about it, is that it's hard to root for these two sides of the characters that you think that they're the hero of the story. Because right now, from her side, she sees Joel as a monster, as a ruthless, cold-blooded killer. But for Joel, in this season, it looks like that Joel is now willing to do things right and make things right, even though in his past life, during the apocalypse, when the world went to shit, he had to do a lot of terrible things in his life. He had to do both sides, and Ellie was the one that really brought him back, because after he lost his daughter that died, he lost the side of his own humanity. not willing to trust anybody, not willing to drop guard or anything. And when we get to Ellie in the first season, she was the reason what brought his humanity back, the reminder of his daughter that he had lost, and he's willing to do whatever it takes after he bonded with her when they were going on the quest. And I thought that the bonding between them was so strong and powerful, especially in the game itself. Life really gave him a second chance to keep going and keep moving forward and keep reason for living and being a father to her. And I thought that that was great. But we already know in this season now that it's been 5 years after the events of the first season. Ellie is now 19 and she is now willing to try to be independent, and she's not on speaking terms with Joel, which now we already know that Joel lied to her face and told her that the Fireflies tried to find a cure and nothing happened. But he did not tell her the whole story of what really happened, and she is pissed when she found out the truth. And now she's not on speaking terms with Joel, and she wants to be her own independent. She doesn't want to feel like she wants to be protected. She's playing that whole teenage rebellious right now, and that's one of the things I really did not like in this episode. I don't think that this episode was as strong as the first episode of season one. I thought season one, episode one was a banger. This one was more of a solid, giving us a little bit more time to breathe and set up this new chapter, because it didn't feel like where it picks up right where it left off. It doesn't feel like a part two. It feels like a sequel series, if that makes any sense, because you're establishing this brand new characters that we haven't met before. We're establishing Jesse and the people of the town of Jackson. And I love that the town that they were built on the practical set of Jackson, the whole town that Tommy helped put together over the years. I love that the town build up. I love the part where they have a council, including Tommy and his wife. Anyway, on to with Joel. Joel is really trying to rebuild his whole life and try to make things right for the town, especially with the scene between him and Dina, which Dina is played by Isabel Marced, which I thought this was a great casting choice to play that Dina's character, who is the love interest of Ellie. I thought that what they did differently, we saw a little bit of the bonding character growth between Joel and Dina, which that was never done in the games before. And it seems like that they really want to stretch this out for Joel and not simply uh, like get rid of his character so quickly, because we already know what's going to happen with Joel for those of us who have played the game, and we know what his fate is. And it seems to me that they want to stretch this out a little bit longer in the show. The best scene of the whole episode for me was Joel going to therapy. He's simply just trying to get this therapist that is played by Catherine O'Hara, which I thought they did something a little bit different that was never done in the game. And I think her name is Gail. It's played by Catherine O'Hara, and that was my favorite scene of the whole episode. Trying to get Joel to open up to what he really did. She knows what happened, but she doesn't know the full context of how it went down when he saved Ellie, and she's trying so hard to get him to open up. And also, she was starting to lose her patience. She even started drinking on the job. And it really took me off guard, really. And she even mentioned that you killed my husband, Eugene. And I have to deal with it and have you as my patient. And for those of you who have forgotten about Eugene, Eugene was a character from the game that gets mentioned so many times, and you feel the presence, but also they killed him off screen, and they never really established him as a character. And it really bugged me, even in The Last of Us Part 2. Like, who the hell is Eugene? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I missed something and I overlooked it, and I don't know who that character was, but it seems to me that they want to use that Eugene character as more of a meaningful and give us a little bit more context of who he is. So apparently, yeah, I feel like that we're gonna get a little bit more flashback of what happened with Eugene in this show, of why Joe killed Gail's husband, Eugene. Why did he do it? And she simply has to live with it. And it's crazy. And she is trying so hard, like, what have you done? Open up. And he's refusing to. He's refusing to open up. And that performance itself with Paige Pascal was absolutely incredible. He's in tears, but at the same time, he tells her, I saved her. He knows what he did was right, even though that he had to do terrible things in order to save Ellie, but he knows he did the right thing. And it's really hurting him that she doesn't see it that way, and she's not willing to accept that. And that was such a strong performance by Pedro Pascal, and that was the best scene of the whole episode, period. That was a total Emmy performances, in my opinion. Now we see that that Ellie is learning how to fight and she takes on a big dude in the barn. And look, I was like, okay, I'm not sure I bought into the whole part that she was able to take him on with twice her size. I know that size doesn't really matter if you're really good and well trained in combat. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be a dick or anything, but that kind of almost took me out of it. But one thing that really that it got really acknowledged is when Jesse showed up and told the guy who was sparring with Abby, no, sparring with Ellie, that that he was pulling his punches because he doesn't want Joel to get pissed off if she gets hurt or injured because he would be furious if he finds out. And I thought like, oh, thank God, thank God, because there was no way that I bought that she was able to take him on at twice the size. So I thought that would have been a little bit of far fetched. But you know what? That's just a little bit of a nitpick, but that doesn't matter. And it seems like that now Ellie just wants to become an independent and not having to answer to Joe to anything, especially when she was going on a patrol with Tommy, shooting those a bunch of one of those runners that are coming around the fence around the place in Jackson. I thought that the bonding between them was really good. But then she becomes a little bit more reckless and do something out of impulse when she has to yell out, "Hey, I'm infected," when she was supposed to not mention anything that she had been bitten and she's immune. And talking about her condition, she was only doing it to piss Tommy off. She's just trying to be a dick. And yeah, we already know that sometimes teenagers can be a bunch of assholes and they always wanted to grow up so fast and want to be independent. Believe me, I can relate because I've been in that situation before. So it's not that far fetched for what Ellie wants, even though she's 19 and grown adult and she wants to be treated like an adult. And this another scene when we see Dina and Ellie go off on a patrol mission and to scavenge any supplies and they want to go inside this one place to see if there's any survivors. And the leader who is leading this whole thing is terrible and doesn't and no and Ellie and Dina does not listen to the leader who is leading this whole patrol. So they go in and find anything that they can find, anything useful, or find any survivors out there, or there's any clickers or runners. And now what we learn in this scene, when we see a runner who is smart and very stealth, that was able to sneak up behind her and doesn't bite her right away, but it was fighting at the right time. It seems to me that the one of the runners is evolving and is being a little bit more smarter than what we anticipated. And when she gets attacked and gets bitten by a runner, that really caught me off guard. But we already know that Ellie's never gonna get infected because she's immune. But what she did with the bite marks when she takes that knife and just cuts it to make sure it doesn't look like a bite whenever if she accidentally shows the scars, they don't want because we got to remember Jackson and the people do not know that she's immune and they cannot know and they can never know. Now we get into the next scene in the party during the New Year's Eve party where now they're all about to get together and come together and we get into the scene that was done in the game before because if you look back on The Last of Us Part 2, they didn't show that scene with Nina and Ellie dancing together until the very end of the game when they show jumping through flashbacks. And that was one of the problems I had with the part two is that the flashbacks were kind of jumping all over the place and it's not really done in the chronological. And it seems to me at the time when he made that game when Neil Druckmann was making that game, he kind of wanted to turn it into more of the Tarantino type of style of storytelling. But this one went in completely the opposite. They showed it a little bit more sooner. And we know that Jesse has broken up with Dina. And we already know what Dina wants. She clearly is into Ellie. She wants to be with Ellie. She's so fond of her personality and all. And the bonding between them was really good and really strong. And I really bought into it. Then we run into this asshole who is a homophobic prick who gives us little homophobic remarks between the two of them while he was drunk. And I love the scene when Joel just shoves him and pushes him down to the floor. I love that part because in the game, that did not happen. I mean, he jumps in and intervenes to protect Ellie, and Ellie just completely just embarrasses him in front of everyone, telling him, like, hey, I don't need no fucking protection. What the fuck are you doing, Joel? That scene itself was so good. And also, not only that she yelled at Joe, she humiliated him in front of the whole town. And that was heartbreaking when he was being the more of the overprotective parent for Ellie. Because no matter how old she is, he still treats her like a little girl. and she feel like needs to be protected, even though she doesn't really need protection. And this scene, when we get into the next one, where she goes outside and sees Joel playing the guitar, a little bit of a throwback to what we saw in the game. Because in the game they get their a little bit moment of talk and they resolve their differences. But in this one, there was no dialogue between the two of them, and she completely just walks back to her place in the garage because she lives in the garage. They live in two separate places. She got a place of her own. Next door is the barn. I think it was the barn or garage or something. I don't know. That was something that that I did not expect. I think that's the reason why that they didn't want to do that, because it kind of would have diminishes the whole plot of Ellie's revenge and her quest for revenge on Abby for what she did to Joel. Because in the game they resolve their differences. Even when she's so pissed at him that he lied to her face about what he did to save her life, but she was willing to move past that part in the game, in the version of the game when they showed it at the very end of what in the context. But in this one, they went completely the opposite of that. But who knows? They might add that scene later on in the next episode or two. Because people are anticipating to see Joel get killed off by Abby in the show. We know it's that he's in a big shitstorm that's about to come. Because at the end of the episode, we know that there's going to be a bunch of hordes of clickers and runners. There's going to be hordes of them. That's been set up for the next episode, that everything is going to go down very badly. Shit's going to hit the fan. And we see a group of people coming from the mountains that is led by Abby. Now we know that shit's about to come. She sees the town in Jackson. She's ready to prep for her little revenge on Joel. And she's going to go golfing. Yep. That's going to fucking break my heart when I watch that scene happen all over again, and how they're going to do it. We don't know. I mean, we don't know how long Joel is going to last in the present day time, because we know that they're going to show a lot more flashbacks between Joel and Ellie, because that happened in the game later on, even after when Joel gets killed off by Abby in the Last of Us Part 2. So how that they're going to execute it, I really hope they do it better, because I did not like how they did it in the game. I felt like that felt very poorly done, and how they did it was kind of stupid to me, of how Joel was able to drop guard so quickly when he just met these people, even when he saved Abby's life. I felt like he should have been a little bit more cautious, but I get it. Sometimes when you drop guard and you don't think of it in the moment, but I just didn't like how they did it. But hopefully in this one that they do it well, and it make it more believable. It make us feel heartbroken all over again, because I'm not ready to be heartbroken all over again. Because when I seen Joel died in The Last of Us Part 2, I literally did not want to keep continuing on to play that game. I didn't want to continue on playing the character with Ellie, and continue on with playing with Abby. And but I had to continue to see how the story plays out. But even though I did not like where the story went, and I'm not a fan of how they dealt with these characters and how they've used them, and there were so many plot holes that had my head scratching, but that's just my opinion. I know lots of people out there that really love The Last of Us Part 2, and I respect that. And that's great that you loved it. I'm not here to take that enjoyment away from you, but for me, I didn't like it, and I just couldn't bring myself to play that game again. I mean, maybe one day I'll play the PS5 remastered and play it all over again, because I've only played the game twice on the PS4 at the time. So overall, I really enjoyed the episode. I'm still a little bit nervous of how they're going to handle it. We know that they're going to stretch out the story in the story from part 2 into 2 seasons. They've just greenlit season 3. So I think that we're going to see a little bit more Joel present in the show in season 2. And then once we get to season 3, we're going to continue on with the story with Ellie and Abby. And that's where the direction that they might head. So it's a really good, solid premiere, but not as strong as the first episode of season 1. So what did you think of this episode for season 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you know when my videos are up. My goal is to reach 500 subscribers. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from. And if you want to follow my social media links, the link tree would be down in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more of my content.